Hello there everybody, this is Graham, also known as Thecollector75, and welcome to another comic showcase. Right, for this one I thought I'd just do some of the sort of like crossovers that they used to do all the time back in the DC universe. This is probably one of the first ones they ever sort of did, and is probably one of the most well known. This is of course Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is where they just basically try to streamline the entire DC universe down, because it was by then, this is dated April 1985, and yeah, they wanted to do it because it was getting very confusing. I've got to admit, because when I first started back in about 1989, I bought some old issues of Batman. It had Batman of Earth 2 and I hadn't got a clue what it was going on about. So anyway, they thought they wanted to just streamline it, because what they did is they said that all heroes from a certain period, like from the 1950s onwards or whatever, would be, for example, on Earth 2. And that's how they got round the fact that Batman actually first appeared in 1939 but still looks like a 30-year-old man and stuff like that, because they then just kept moving it forward on different parallel dimensions and everything like that. And which is quite a clever way, but they said, do you know what, it's time to get rid of all that, because readers are just getting all confused. Because then we had heroes going on to these different Earths and realising that there were 3 Batmen, 3 Supermen and everything like that. And you had to then try and work out which one was doing what, and it was so confusing. So they just come up with this, where there would be a crisis on all the infinite Earths, and all of them would be eliminated apart from Earth. Earth 1 is the current Earth. And basically we ended up with, this is the collector edition. I don't have all the issues, I only got a couple of the ones, mainly because the comic shop that I got them from only wanted to get the ones that were worth money at the time. They're probably not worth too much today. Yeah, so this is a collector edition, brilliant wraparound cover, that. And it just got rid of all the other Earths and only left Earth 1. Superman of Earth 2, Superboy Prime and Alexander Luthor of Earth 3 were the only survivors from the crisis from any other parallel dimension, and sealed themselves away, which we'll come on to a little bit later on. Anyway, that was it. So it left that, but no one for some reason remembered the crisis, even though people died and whatever. I could never work that one out. Anyway, that was Crisis on Infinite Earths. One of the next ones they did. They did a few more, but I never got them. I wasn't that interested. I was only interested in this one because this is when I first started collecting comics. This was Invasion, and I remember my mate at school had that issue, and he also had that one. Might have had that one, but I managed to pick all these up later, a bit later than he did at a comic shop. And it was just a load of aliens that basically wanted to invade Earth because they were threatened by all the superhero presence on Earth, really. Not much to it really, but at the time I was getting into them and I thought, wow, look at all these weird sort of things they were doing. My mate had this was brilliant. Let me just show you this. I'm just going to open the bag it's in. I managed to get this off and I'm so glad I did. Probably not worth a lot, but this is like a special Invasion edition of the Daily Planet, and it's got about 16 pages. Pretty cool because you can open it up and there's loads of different articles in there and everything like that. And it was pretty good. I mean, there you go, you got a sports page on the back there. It was very good. And I can't remember how I got it off him, but I did. Probably cost me a couple of quid, maybe a tenner, I don't know. But it's Friday, November the 4th, 1988, and I just love the headline, Earth to Invaders. Drop dead, I love that. Sort of thing you'd see on the sun, really. Anyway, right, so that's something we put over there, so I might get fucked up. Anyway, so that was Invasion. Not really much to write home about. One of the next ones they decided to do was, the first ones where they started to then cross over into the annuals. This was Armageddon 2001. This featured, basically it says 10 years from now the world will survive, these heroes won't, and basically it just says in the year 2001 one of the heroes turned on their own and killed all the rest and then took over the world basically. But then for some reason the timeline got changed, and instead of it happening in 2001, it happened in 1991, and this guy Monarch, who after turning on them basically just sealed himself up in this armour. And we have the reveal who actually Monarch was, and it was of course Hawk and Dove. Well, it was Hawk out of Hawk and Dove after he's seeing his partner killed. If anyone can tell me just how the hell Hawk is now about and whatever happened to Monarch. I know he became extant in 0 Hour, but I don't know what happened to him after that, and what happened to Monarch, and how is now Hank Howell still about? I'd love to know that one. Anyway, it was quite a good series. It really interested me at the time. It was quite a good one. Next we're going to go on to, probably didn't interest me too much at the time, but then I read one of these follow-up comics, which was Eclipso, yeah. And it was a great comic actually, loads of people dying, and it was killing everyone left, right, and centre. Anyway, Eclipso basically just lives on the dark side of the moon, can't stand sunlight, and can take people over using one of the Eclipse. This is actually the special edition I got with, like you can see it there, it's actually one of his crystals. All they've got to do is feel hatred or something, or rage against someone, and it will basically allow Eclipso to possess them. As you can see there, he's got all these eclipsed heroes there. We've got Green Lantern, and loads of them. We've got an eclipsed Deathstroke, and he can take over anyone, and it's great. And then he gets all their powers and everything. Fantastic. I did like Eclipso. I think he's still about. That was another good one. I liked Eclipso. And then just before 0 hour, in the Superman comics, we've got Worlds Collide. I was going to get all the rest of the issues, so I wanted to read it again. But they weren't all together, and then it was going to take me ages to find them all. Worlds Collide was just basically this guy who, called Fred Benson, I believe, who would go to sleep one night and then almost instantaneously wake up in another universe, and he did that all his life between the Milestone universe and Metropolis. And he thought it was completely normal, to be honest. He always believed when he woke up he was just dreaming the other universe, but then as it went on, he got these really bad nightmares, and then it caused both of literally the parallel universes to collide. And that was it, really. But I always find this a bit strange that they were doing this after Crisis on Infinite Earths, where it was supposed to have got rid of every parallel universe. I always found that a bit strange, but never mind, because they did it more often than not. Still, there we go. But then again, maybe, I don't know, I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, that was pretty good. I like the Milestone universe. I never really did any of the comics after that, to be honest, but it was definitely well worth it. And of course, in the Milestone universe, they all knew that Superman was Clark Kent, because the comics just existed how they exist here. Great stuff, that one. I showed this before. This is, of course, 0 hour. A great little series, probably a little bit underrated, and it was a bit dodgy in places, but was just served as a good conduit for the evil, well, I would say evil Hal Jordan. He was just, of course, just off his head a little bit and wanting to set the universe right. That's all he was doing. He believed he was doing the right thing, and still did. And then, of course, up until the later sort of like issues of where we find out what was controlling him was, of course, Parallax, which I never bought into, really. After that, we got Bloodlines. This ran through the annuals as well. As you can see, there was the new Batman and the new Superman just after he came back, and we got new long hair and everything like that. Not a bad thing. It was just a way to actually introduce loads of heroes, because these aliens would attack people, drain them of their spinal fluid, but on some people, like had the meta gene, would cause their meta gene to activate, and they would become whatever superheroes. Alright, then on from there we had this one. I wasn't going to bother getting all the crossovers. This one just crossed over into the comic, in some of the comics. This was Underworld Unleashed, and it had this guy from basically hell, basically. He would go around offering heroes and villains new powers or upgraded powers in service for their soul or whatever. It had lots of villains accepting it. I think the Firefly accepted it from Batman, and he turned literally into a Firefly. And a few heroes accepted as well. I can't remember who for the life of me now, but there we go. It was all right, and I just loved the way the comics then had the Underworld Unleashed. It wrote the title diagonally. That was enough back then to hook me on a comic. Yeah, I used to buy old bloody rubbish half the time. And then we had the final night. I never actually read this, because after that Underworld Unleashed I couldn't be bothered. Then I realised it was bloody to do with Hal Jordan. I was quite a Green Lantern fan, you see. This is where he died, reigniting the sun. And then we basically had the final thing, which was Parallax Emerald Knight, where he basically comes to the conclusion that he should save the Earth. Which is why I always thought if he was really controlled by that Parallax in the later things just was completely different to how he was then, and it showed that he was just literally off his head there, and I was never convinced by it, but there we go. Anyway, that was the final night. Who we got next? This is, after that I stopped reading comics for quite a while, and this was one of the issues that got me back into about 2005, something like that, along with Green Lantern Rebirth. We came up with this. This was going to be the direct sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is called Infinite Crisis, and before this series started we have 4 mini-series called Countdown to Infinite Crisis, and it said one of the mini-series will lead directly into what's happening. As far as I knew, all of them did. Anyway, this is this is Infinite Crisis, and it is basically the universe just doesn't seem to be right. You got planets moving around. You got a war instigated between the Ran-Thanagar war or something like that. You got the Spectre doing some weird stuff, and you got Batman not liking any of the heroes because obviously they erased his memory, part of it or something to do with something. I can't remember the exact reason. And Wonder Woman had killed this guy live on TV, and so the public began to distrust heroes. And not only that, but you had 3 watchers who were watching this universe with total disgust of what's happened for the past 20 odd years. And basically it's revealed that it was in fact Superman of Earth 2, Alexander Luthor and Superboy Prime, who had been sealed up in this thing, had been watching the universe and maybe realised that they had saved the wrong Earth, that maybe Earth 1 wasn't the one that was supposed to be saved and it should have been Earth 2, because Earth 2 was a little bit more fun. All the heroes were a little bit, because obviously these were back from the 60s, this was sort of setting where you had the Joker, who really was like out that dodgy Adam West TV series, and not the murdering psychopath that he was in Earth 1. So they thought, well, maybe we should try and bring back Earth 2. And so they did try. And eventually, here we go, you got Superman of Earth 2 going to Batman and trying to convince him. Unfortunately, it didn't work. And eventually, I think most of the heroes, including Batman, convinced Earth 2 Superman that what they're doing is actually wrong. And he did realise that. But unfortunately, Superboy Prime went off the deep end because he wanted his Earth back. He wanted to go back to Earth Prime, where of course he was the only superpowered being, and all the other people existed just in comics. And along with Alexander Luthor, for some reason he went a bit nuts, and he was going to basically bring back the multiverse, searching for one for Earth Prime and a perfect world or something like that. I can't remember exactly why. I'm going to reread this entire series again. But Superboy Prime just shows exactly why he was probably the most deadly. In this series he kills anyone who gets in his way, and he's the most powerful. And you can see him here, he's got this mock-up armour that looks a bit like the Anti-Monitor that feeds him yellow sunlight, magnifying his powers, and no one can stop him. And it's absolutely fantastic. I can't remember how they do stop him. I know they don't kill him because I think the Guardians then just seal him up next to a red sun, eliminating his powers, but he did come back and I managed to find an Earth Prime, and I can't remember the comic that it's in, but it's got him literally reading the comic that he's holding, with exactly the page that he's on, speaking the words that he's speaking, with his mum calling him up for dinner and everything, and he said, oh, he's bloody comics or something. And I think he actually goes on the rampage in the DC offices, trying to get back because he realises that they're right in his future or something like that. It's quite funny. Well, I quite liked it anyway. Yeah, it's quite worth it. It was alright, not too bad, that one. Anyway, that was Infinite Crisis. And then one of the last ones that they did, apart from, well, actually no, it's not the last one they did, but I haven't got the one to show. This was Final Crisis. This is supposed to be where evil wins, but it's bullshit. It was, I'll tell you what, it's such an unmemorable storyline. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. It had all these, like, a Darkseid being reborn on Earth and trying to take over Earth or something with this Omega thing. They do it, and then at the final issue, apart from Batman supposedly dying in that one, I couldn't tell you what happens. Everything just gets reset back the same way it was, and that was it. Completely pointless. I couldn't see the point of it. Maybe someone out there could tell me the reason behind it. I don't know, because I read it and I was so totally disappointed with it. Yeah. Anyway, that is the end of this comic showcase, actually. Right, so there was the really good one. That was the Blackest Night. That was about 2 years ago. That one. I got all them. But like I said, I just couldn't get my hands on them because they were at Mum's house. Yeah, but that was a good one. Right, yes, this has been the end of this comic showcase, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.